Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Tony. If I've not had a chance to meet you, I serve as the pastor here at New Hope Vineyard Church. I just want to welcome you to our building and say thank you very much for volunteering for our fifth Night to Shine. And we are back in person this year. If you participated maybe in the Shine Through Parade last year, it was awful. It was a great time, but it was a cold, wet, gray, rainy day. But man, did we have a blast. It was a good time, and there was no pneumonia whatsoever, so it worked out. But we're so glad that you are here. Thank you. We're going to honor your time tonight and go through some stuff. If you have questions, there will be a couple times throughout the evening where you can answer those, so we'll keep everything kind of packed. But the first thing I want to say again is just thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because we cannot do this without you. And the special needs community is such a big part of the heart of New Hope Vineyard Church. It's who we are. It's why we exist. And I think they're very special to God, too. And so thank you for being willing to serve them. This is not about us. This is not about even this church. This is about them. And that's what you'll hear more about tonight. We have some wonderful people who you've met along the way, some core leaders out there, like Trudy, and then there's Nancy up there, and I'll introduce her in a little bit. Myself, if you need anything, please come and find us. Robin, Rod, and Deb Connor will be around too. Just find us and ask us. But before we get started tonight, just to let you know what you're in for. In 2019, we did a blast of a Night to Shine. So let's just show you a little recap video from that night.
Hey, what's up, volunteers? I truly just want to say thank you so much for saying yes to being a volunteer at Night to Shine. It really is my favorite night of the year. It's how me and my wife met. It's not just my favorite year because this is something that God put on our heart years ago. It's my favorite night of the year because I get to see so many of you guys loving so well. I get to see so many volunteers walking kings and queens down a red carpet and cheering for them and celebrating them in a way that most have never been celebrated. And I just hope you understand how important your role is. Your role as a buddy, your role as someone that's cheering on the red carpet, your role as someone that is crowning someone. Your role might be in the back, but how important that role is. And how we all fulfill our roles with excellence, because every single one of those lives is worth us doing it with excellence. You see, it might just be a night where we can volunteer, but it's a night where they might actually understand that they're loved, that they have worth, that they have value. So let's do our jobs with excellence, because there's a lot, and I mean a lot, at stake. So thank you for saying yes. And I hope you understand the magnitude of what you're saying yes to, because I don't believe it's just a prom night. I believe it's a worth night, a value night, a love night, where people for the first time in their life might understand that. It's a special night. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for partnering with us, because who knows what God's gonna do, but I think he's up to pretty big things.
So that's a lot to come up next against. I'm not a Tim Tebow. But I did want to say thank you so much for coming and spending time with some of my very, very favorite people in the whole world. I'm Jen McMaster. I'm actually a caseworker at the Sandusky County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and I have a sister that has Down syndrome. So this is very special to my heart in many, many ways, and you are going to feel so privileged and honored to serve these folks, let me tell you. The little bit of training I'm going to provide tonight is just an overview, just a glaze, if you will, of kind of some of the things to look out for, some of the things to just keep in the back of your mind when you are providing some support to folks that have developmental disabilities. Not everyone can speak up for themselves. We've met folks that communication is kind of a challenge for them, right? I think all of us can say we've met someone like that. But it's important to give a voice to those that can't speak for themselves or won't. I mean, there's also people that choose not to. So this is where we all need to work together, because we all have something to give and we all have something to receive, right? So even if they are not willing to speak a whole lot, it's important for us to really be listening to body language, listening to them to take the lead. This is also called a people first language. So when you're talking about the individual, you're not saying, oh, remember that autistic boy, Alex. Because having autism is a little fraction of who Alex is, and to just go around labeling people by their diagnoses isn't really fair. I don't know about you, but I don't want to walk around with a bunch of labels all over me that says why I take certain meds, or what I struggle with, or what's in my past. That's just not fair. We all meet each other at the same level. We're all people. And that's what I think we really need. If you walk away from this learning nothing else, please learn that they are just people. So talk about life with them. Have fun. It's not a lot of pressure like you may be putting on yourself. So just remember not to put labels on them, and just to get to know everyone. Not all disabilities can be seen, so there may be times at the dance where you're like, where's all the honored guests? I don't really see a whole lot of people here with disabilities. That's because a lot of disabilities are not seen. People that have autism, that are on the spectrum, a lot of times you can't tell by looking at them. There's cognitive disabilities, psychiatric conditions, seizure disorders, traumatic brain injuries, all kinds of things that are not seen. Disabilities also can affect all races, all cultures, incomes, and genders. So this is not something where mom didn't take proper care of herself when she was pregnant. Most of our honored guests are that way of no fault of anyone. It is the way they were made, and it's just a chromosomal abnormality that has given them this deck of cards, if you will. So don't think of it as, gosh, their mom didn't take care of them, or they are really poor, so they ended up with a cognitive disability. Being disabled is also a very diverse term. So when you are talking about Alex, who may have autism, there might be a Sarah that has autism, and they act completely different. I know for me, growing up with my sister, I always heard how people with Down syndrome are just so lovely and they're always happy. Let me tell you, they're not. If you don't know that, you eventually will. Amanda, my sister, can flip a table like no one else. So if you knew her back in her work days, she would flip a table at Sanco because that girl is not working. But she would love to talk to you about anything else. So as we go through, communicating with individuals who are blind or have vision impairments. At this point, then, I go through different categories and just give you some little tips. When you're speaking with people that have vision impairments, make sure you're talking to the individual as you're approaching so that you're not all of a sudden right here and talking to them. That would be really startling. State clearly who you are. Speak in a normal tone of voice. They're not hard of hearing, they're just vision impaired. Tell the person when you're leaving their side. Don't ever touch a service animal. Most of us know this because they are working unless you ask first, and then maybe the person would give you permission. Don't assume that the person wants to be led by you. Even if they have a vision impairment, they may want that independence of leading themselves. So when you're assisting people, just make sure you're saying, hey, Sarah, would you like a hand? If no or no answer, then that means no too. Also, give directions when you're walking with the person. Something that I always like to do is I'll say, okay, Johnny, 3 more steps, and then we're going to be to some steps down. Okay, Johnny, 1, 2, 3, we're at the steps. 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. That way they have a visual in their mind, like what I'm coming up against. Or we're going through a narrow hallway. It's probably going to be about 15 steps before we're through it. That just gives them confidence in their surroundings. Communicating with individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing, make sure you're just tapping their arm gently, just real gentle. Some people have sensory issues, so you're not going to want to be really aggressive. Just a tap. Look directly at the person's face and speak clearly in a normal tone of voice again. Unless they start hollering back at you, maybe you would raise your voice a little bit, but most generally, they have some sort of corrective device that's going to help them to hear you at a normal tone. If the person has an interpreter, make sure you're looking at the person, not the interpreter. It's kind of tricky, but the person that has hearing impairments, they're picking up on body language, they're picking up on lip reading, all of that. So make sure you're looking straight at the person that you're talking to. Communicating with people that have mobility disabilities. So this would be somebody that just has trouble getting around. Don't assume that the person wants to be pushed in their wheelchair. Please ask and respect their wishes. Some wheelchairs are electronic and they can maneuver those on their own. Some people need someone to push them, but that wheelchair is an extension of their body. So if you can imagine somebody just coming up to you and saying, oh, here's a really good song, let's go, and pushing you, I don't think you'd take kindly to it. So make sure that you're asking, is it okay? Do you want to go dance? Do you want to go eat? You know, that kind of thing. Can I help you get there? Those sorts of things. Also make sure that you understand the wheelchairs are very specifically made for the person that's using them. So don't lean on them, push on them in any way, because those are very pricey and it's really an art to try and get it specially fit for that person. Again, offering assistance with doors. Ask them, see if they want you to help with opening doors. Also, try and put yourself at the person's eye level. A lot of folks in a wheelchair, they have a lot of neck problems, if you can imagine, because they're always looking up when people are trying to talk to them. So if you can get on their eye level, that really helps a lot. Communicating with people that have speech disabilities. Don't assume that just because somebody has a speech problem that they have a cognitive disability. There are lots of folks that maybe have a stuttering problem or they can't quite think of the words to use, but it doesn't mean they have anything cognitively wrong. If you don't understand something, please don't pretend that you do. It's really important for all of us to feel heard. So if you're just nodding and smiling and walking away, they're gonna know you didn't hear what they said. So just try and be patient. It's gonna take longer to communicate with them, but that's okay. And maybe ask questions that require an answer of a yes or a no, like a head nod. That might help. Don't speak for the individual, and do not finish their sentences, because that just feels like they don't have anything to provide. You know, when somebody's always interrupting you, it just kind of feels like your words are not valid. So just allow them to do that. Communicating with those that have cognitive disabilities. You're probably gonna need to repeat some things, and that's okay. Make sure you're speaking in sentences that are more simple and short. That's easier to process. Try not to ask a bunch of questions like, oh, what did you have for dinner tonight? And were you at mom's house tonight? Oh, wow, I bet you guys ate at the table. Did you have potatoes with your steak? And that's a lot to process. So just simple language. They may need a little bit extra time to think about things. So just because they're not answering doesn't mean they're not going to. So you may just need to give a little extra time. Help with any written directions. So I know at Night to Shine, we always get the program on the table, and it may be helpful to just kind of go through that with them and say, would you like me to help you to understand, you know, the flow of the night and that kind of thing. Avoid talking loud again, and if you're really having trouble communicating, you can always take them aside to a quieter place to see if that helps the communication barrier. And really, I would just like to say that this is their night. So remember, these folks that we have, our honored guests, are so, so special. And they have a boss everywhere they go. Most of our honored guests have staff or family that follow them 24/7 almost, right? So the last thing they need is another boss, especially on Night to Shine. So please, please try and just take their lead. If they don't want to eat, one skipped meal is not going to hurt anybody. If all they want to do is eat, okay, you overeat one night. It's your night. Do what you want. If you don't want to dance, we won't dance. You don't want to go in the limo, we won't go in the limo. But if you want to do it all, we're going to do it all. So make sure that we are taking their lead and just kind of being there to support them. We're not bossing them. We're not doing our agenda. So just have fun, because I know you will, and enjoy these honored guests, and I hope to see everyone again next year because you'll be hooked. Thanks.
I just want to thank you all for showing up tonight after our fiasco last week with our weather craziness. So thank you for making it here tonight. We cannot do this without you, so it's so important. And I know a lot of you won't be buddies. Some of you, many of you are, but others are at food service lines or in the background. And I just want to say that all that stuff that Jen just said is so helpful when you're interacting and, you know, getting to their level and just really recognizing who they are and celebrating them for that night. And I know Tony's going to hate me because I'm going to ad-lib here a little bit, but the other thing that we have not been real good about, but we really want to do better this year, is we want your stories from that night. If you have an interaction with a guest, or you see a guest just having a phenomenal time, or maybe it's a caregiver that is just so, you know, touched by what's going on, we want your stories. Something that happened for you, something that you saw happen. Just email us at nts@newhopevineyard.org, because we really, you know, Tim Tebow always asks us for stories, and we'll get a few people that just impromptu will send us. But if you have something special that, just tell us about it. We'd love to hear it. Okay, and with that, we're going to get on with things. I know you may have a lot of questions already, but try and hold your questions, if you would, till we hopefully will go through most of it, and if you have another one at the end, then great. We'll go from there. Okay, so volunteers, you're going to arrive at Atera, and really between 4 and 5, the earlier you get there, the better, because then you'll have a chance to walk around and see this stuff for real. But come dressed and ready, definitely no later than 5. I know there are some that have told us they can't get there until later, and if you've let your team leader know that's really helpful, or let me know that so that we can plan on that. But we really need you there as early as possible. So you'll check in. You're going to park in the volunteer area, which is the farthest southeast area of Terra's parking lot on that main parking entrance. You'll see if the Bowling Green bus is there, you'll see where the bus is parked. But we want, unless you are physically not able and you really need to park up front, leave those spaces for our honored guests and their families. Registration tables are going to be in the lobby as you come in to get all your information. You're going to need a lanyard that's going to have to be worn at all times. We really are strong on security. We want to make sure our guests and their families feel safe here. So we want to know, if you've got a lanyard on, we know you've been background checked. We know that you've been trained and you're all good. Our security people won't kick you out. The red lanyards, people with red lanyards are the security people. FYI, and the gold lanyards are for other people like Tony or me or some of our core people, Carolyn and I think Trudy. They can answer a lot of questions. So if you can't find your team leader right away and you can see somebody with a gold lanyard, you can grab them as well. Our goal is to make this their night, and the best possible night we can possibly have. It's their prom. It's all about them. They are all kings and queens, so really focus on that. Security, again, as I said, very important. You will see a couple Fremont City police officers in the area, if anything is really necessary, but the security team will probably work with them as much as possible. You shouldn't have to reach out to them at all. Again, just a walkthrough of the whole night. We want to give you an idea. You'll come in, if you've been at Terra, you kind of know that big entry area in Building B, I think. Is that right, Building B? And you go in, and as you can see, the kind of line that the registration tables are going to be on the left there. The flow is for us as well as volunteers or the guests when they come. We'll go in, we'll get registered. The buddies or all of our honored guests will come in the same way. They'll go up and around to the left. There's a little coat check area. And then as they go right, there's going to be a limo sign up. In the 2 rooms that are off on the right side of that atrium, there's hair and makeup touch-ups for our guests. So if they want a little sparkle on their eyeshadow or a little fancy bow or something, they can go in. They'll just feel special getting kind of primped on. There's going to be a shoe shine area there for the guys as well. And then they'll continue down the hallway where they'll pick up their corsage and gift bag. And it's really important, there are going to be corsage people there to help you, but in fact, you may not have to do anything. They'll probably put it on the gentleman's jacket or on the wrist for the ladies. They will pick up their gift bag there. There's all kinds of goodies in that gift bag. If you can hold off on the crown part for later in the evening, that's a great idea. But there are some glow necklaces and some other things that they may want access to, but try to kind of keep a handle on that so that it doesn't get all out of the bag for them, I guess. And they can always use a lot of that stuff later, even if they don't use it that night. I'm going to back up just 1 minute because I did forget. If the caregivers, when they come in, they will have their option as they register. They will either stay with their honored guest all night, or they have the option of going upstairs to the hospitality room and really have a very nice setup up there for them with a lot of different goodies for them as well. So they will have that option after they check in. They'll sign up for limo rides every 15 minutes or so. And that's also where the buddy will get assigned to right after the registration area. They'll get assigned to the guest. What am I missing, Tony? I'm messing up, aren't I? Restrooms are available on either side of the doors of that particular atrium area, but there's also another set of restrooms into the Student Activity Center. So they'll go down the hallway to the Student Activity Center, and then as they come into that Student Activity Center, we want to really make a big deal out of this red carpet entrance that they have. So if you're on the red carpet, if you're listed in that team, you're going to have a great night. We also have some people maybe helping out in registration that after registration is done, they're going to come into that area and really help with just having a great time with all the guests and helping any buddies that may be needed. So we'll also have, this is where our buffet tables will be on either side. We're going to have, I'm skipping a lot of stuff, aren't I? But when they come through the red carpet, you'll have if you're a buddy, you'll have a name card you're going to give to the red carpet lady or guy that will announce them. There's obviously the buffet tables, dance floor, photo area. Photo area is in the very back of that Student Activity Center where their official Night to Shine prom photo will be taken. And then the restrooms, I believe, although I may be, we'll go into the back of that Student Activity Center is then where karaoke is going to be back there. We've moved that from previous years, so it's a little more centrally located. And also the fun photo booth is back there. There are 2 restrooms on the hallway, and then the nurse's room is down that hallway as well. So they will have that. In the very back, we have, if somebody's needing kind of just a quiet space for a night, we have what's called a sensory area, and that's down another little hallway. They can just go down just to rest and relax and just take it easy for a few minutes to kind of get themselves squared away. So just in terms of logistics, and how that's all laid out. Does anybody have any questions that they really need answered? I highly recommend that you get there early enough, you get yourself registered, get your stuff, and then you will know where your group is meeting or what have you, but you can have some time to go around and see where everything is and how it's all laid out. So if some other guest, or somebody needs some help, where's the karaoke or where's this, you'll know how to direct them. And just keep in mind that, if you can park farther away, I believe there is another event going on in the Neely Center that night, so they're going to be parking closer to the Neely Center. So if you park farthest, kind of in the whatever out in the boondocks, but that will be helpful just to leave the closer spaces for the guests to that general technology. But yes. When you checked in tonight, you should find out what team you're on, who you were going to be. Okay, afterwards, just see me, because I've got a list, and I can tell you. It was a blur, huh? If you need help, if you aren't sure where you're volunteering at, see either myself or Charlotte McMaster, who was at the registration table when you came in. She'll be able to make sure you know where you're going and who you need to be. Because at the end of this little session, you're going to go into your breakout sessions with your team leader and find out more details. Okay, some other very important things that tend to come up at this time of year is like, what about the weather? What happens if we have bad weather? Well, it's not going to be bad weather. I'm going to tell you that right now. Forecast looks pretty good. It might be 30 degrees. We're expecting a little bit of a warm up, but so far, thank you, Lord, it looks really good. If we should have to have any kind of a change because of weather, some storm unexpectedly comes in, we will only cancel it if it's a level 2 or 3. We're on if it's a level 1. Just be careful as you come, but we kind of have to do this. All over the world on February 10th, this event is going on. So we really want to do it with the rest of the world. It's very fun. But if we did have to change it, it would be Saturday, March 4th. That is the weather makeup day. If you know right now that you cannot, it's not Friday, it's Saturday. We didn't get that changed, but we did double check that. It is Saturday, March 4th. If you know right now you're on vacation, let your team leader know that so that they know that you won't be available that time, or if you've got another commitment on that day. Dress, what to wear. A minimum, we want you to wear a white shirt, dark pants, or a dark skirt. But we also, depending again where you're serving, if you're a red carpet person, if you're a buddy, by all means dress up. If you're a registration person, dress up, have fun with it. I would recommend not wearing heels unless you're one of these 20-somethings that can walk around on heels all night long. So anyways, it is a lot of walking, so be prepared and have comfortable shoes on. A lot of us dress up with tennis shoes. So, I mean, you just do what you got to do. I think food service has some they've got some aprons and stuff if you're in on food service. Cindy will tell you more about that if you're with food service. Behind the scenes, obviously parking lot people, you dress for the weather. You dress for the weather. Security, though, we want you to kind of look nice. You're going to have your red lanyard on, so a white shirt and dark pants is a nice way to look. Really have fun with it. Do what you want. Our guests and our family members, a lot of them are going to be very dressed up. So we want this to be a very special night. And just can I say this? Some people have said, well, this isn't realistic that you get to go to a prom every year. Well, no, that's probably not. But a lot of us adults, we at least get to dress up one night a year. So this is their night to dress up. And it is, it's a lot of fun. If we don't get to do it every year, we get to do it about every other year. So it's always fun to do that. T-shirts are available actually tonight. We got them out in the lobby. If you want to see what's available, you can. Are we actually selling them tonight? We're not. We're just pre-ordering tonight. So we would require you to pay for that tonight, but you will be guaranteed a T-shirt of the size and hopefully the size and the color that you want. If you wait, there will be some available at night to shine that evening, but you may or may not get the size you want. So we've got a couple different short sleeve or long sleeves available. They look really nice. And I think do we have the year on that or not this time? This one doesn't, so it's Fremont, Ohio. There you go. Coats. There are coat racks available. If you are with the limo team, you might need your coat available. So you're going to want to put your coat in the downstairs area. There is also a coat rack that'll be upstairs next to the hospitality room. If you're not going to need your coat the whole night, I would recommend putting your coat up there. Don't leave valuables in your coat or your car. Try not to bring anything with you that you're going to need valuables. Jason, via video, is going to go over what you're going to do with the buddy card. But really, if you really had to have your purse on you and you don't have pockets, bring a purse that you can put over your shoulder so you don't have to mess with it. But I would really recommend not bringing any valuables with you. So I think that's that. Emergencies, we've already talked about safety and security. It will be located in every single area. Uniformed police, those with red lanyards. If you have something that happens, locate one of those emergency people immediately. And they have walkie-talkies. They will be able to get to whoever else needs to be involved. First aid nurses are available during the event, as well as we will have EMS on site as well. So that should be, hopefully will not be needed at all. We've been very fortunate, thank you, Lord, that there's been no real emergencies. Non-emergency needs, questions that you got that you kind of need somebody to answer, get with your team leader first. They should be fairly close by. You should know where they are. If more help is needed, grab one of us with the gold lanyards. And of course, you can contact a security person if you need to get a hold of Tony or I or somebody else. They have walkie-talkies and they will be able to get a hold of us. Meals. We want you guys to be able to eat also. So buddies obviously will eat with their honored guest, but help your guests first. You know, make sure that you're helping out and doing what you can for them. There will be the red carpet hosts and hostesses who are there to help you, to be an extra set of hands if needed. If your guest needs their food pureed, they have to have had that brought with them, and you most likely will be with a caregiver or a family member who's providing that. Same is true for any medicines. We do not puree food. We do not do anything with medicine. They have to have their own caregiver and person, or staff person that helps them with that. Other volunteers, if you are volunteering in registration, you'll be able to wait till your registration time is over and more or less picked up, and then you'll be able to go eat. Other areas, you may have to spell each other so that they can have a chance to eat after, things have calmed down in your area a little bit. What's for dinner? We are having a wonderful arrangement of food. We're having some Italian food, something like lasagna, or not too, what do we call it, Cindy? Non-meat pasta dish, along with, we're going to have chicken fingers available if the guest is more likely to want chicken fingers, something easier. Salad, applesauce, breadsticks, say again, louder. Green beans. So you'll have a variety of things to choose from and to have your guests choose from, or whoever you're with as well. If your area runs all night and you've been busy all night long, please get a to-go meal before you leave. We want you to eat. We don't want to starve you. There may be an opportunity if you get there early enough to eat ahead of time upstairs. We're going to have the ability to eat ahead of time if you get there. Okay, tear down and clean up. Each area, the only way we can do this is for each area to kind of be responsible for their own tear down, putting things back in the boxes. If you are a buddy, we know you're going to make sure that they get with their person who's picking them up. And then after that, if you can stay and help, we would sure appreciate it wherever you can. Your team leader is going to know what stays at Terra and what goes to a vehicle that's coming back to the church, or it may go with a person in charge of decorating. So just be aware that there's some things that stay and some things that go. We do have a designated tear down team, and our Bowling Green students are staying late to help us with tearing down the tables and chairs and hopefully taking a bunch of stuff out to the car. But whatever it is, it's really help if you can stay, so that some of us aren't there until midnight. We really appreciate it. Pre-event help. If you know somebody that really wanted to sign up, but they just didn't make the deadline and they really want to help in some way, we do have a couple of things left to do. I think we've mostly gotten the personal notes done, but this Sunday at noon, we will be packing those gift bags up, and we can use your help if you want to come. And obviously, you don't have to register, you don't have to do anything to do that. So if you'd like to help, we're going to be doing that about noon, and it should go. If we have a lot of people helping, it's maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half tops. And then setup help on Friday. Our setup team will be meeting at probably, we'll try to get there at noon, but 1 o'clock, 1 to 2:30 is when we're doing the bulk of that setup. Some of the decorating is already going on, and if you signed up to help with decorating, I think, is Vanessa here? Vanessa's supposed to be here. I don't see her. I'm not sure. But we will have a team there that is getting there earlier to help with some of the decorations as well. So you can show up at Terra and we'll find something for you to do probably anytime after noon if you would like to. Our person that is in charge of buddies is not physically here tonight, but he did a training with us on Monday at BG, and we captured him on video, so we're going to let him kind of do his thing via video, and then Jen is going to be available to answer any questions that might be needed, you know, after he does his little presentation. So take it away, Jason, on video.
I actually work in the School of Hope. Our county board still runs the school, so I'm one of the teachers there at the School of Hope. I also help coach Special Olympics basketball. My mom was the director, so I've been around Special Olympics and I've been around folks with DD for a good number of years. I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but I enjoy what I do and I enjoy working with the individuals, and I hope that at some point in time you folks will want to do the same, whether it's either as a special ed teacher or as a gen ed type teacher. But education is definitely can be a rewarding career, because good Lord knows we're not in it for the money, right? Okay, so moving on. I'm not gonna go over any of that. So, like Nancy has kind of touched on and we've talked about briefly, you're 99% of you are going to be a buddy, you know, and yes, I'm in charge of the buddies. I don't know what I'm going to be wearing yet, so I can't tell you to look for, you know, a top hat or a tux or anything like that. But when we meet that evening, okay, once I get everybody assigned, I will be out and about, walking around. You know, if you need something, you have a question, holler for me, okay, raise your hand, holler, do something, I will make sure to come help you out. I know there's a lot being presented to you now, and if you're anything like me, you know, you go back to the dorm, you go back to your apartment, and you think, oh, I should have asked that question, you know, and I forgot to. So as Nancy mentioned, feel free to use that email that come to you, email that question. That doesn't go to me directly, but if it is a question about buddies or something in general that pertains to me, Nancy will forward it on to me, and I'll be happy to get that question answered for you. So feel free to do that. Main role as a buddy, like I mentioned, you know, you're there to help the individual have fun. You're there to make sure that, and also to serve as kind of a reminder for them. Because like I said, 98% of them are going to be very independent or very semi-independent. You're gonna wonder, why am I even here? You know, they seem to be doing everything on their own, you know, and that's great, and that's what we want for them, you know. But there's also certain times that they may need a reminder for something, you know, or they may need some assistance in terms of whatever that might be, okay? For instance, if you watched the video, you saw some of our individuals do use wheelchairs for mobility, okay? So they may need you to push their wheelchair for them. They may not. They may have somebody there for them. You're just simply, you know, walking beside them, okay? So if you get assigned somebody that uses a wheelchair, make sure you ask, you know, hey, you know, do you mind if I push you, or do you need pushed in your wheelchair? If they say no, you know what, then great, don't, you know. They may need help in other ways, okay? Some of our individuals that do come are of older, I don't want to say old, but they may need some walking assistance. They've got a cane, they've got a walker, okay? So again, ask if you can help in some way with that, either by offering you their arm, you know, they may want to walk with you hand in hand, or, you know, arm in arm type deal. They may need help with some of the doors, holding the door open so they can come and go. And in terms of anybody using a walker, anybody using a wheelchair, the gym at Terra is actually a raised gym floor. It's a new gym floor they put in for the basketball team, and it's probably, I'd guess, about inch to an inch, 2 inch raised floor. They do have a ramp that goes up, okay, in a couple locations. So if you do get assigned somebody with some mobility issues, suggest using the ramp, okay? Just to make it easier. We don't want anybody tripping and falling. There will be tables set up on the main gym floor. So if all the tables are, you know, on the raised floor and filled up, you know, or if you think that they don't want to go up on that raised floor, there will be some spaces for them there down on the main floor where they don't have to use that ramp, okay? Let's see here. Some of them may be hard to understand. They may have a speech impediment or a speech disability, okay? The biggest thing there, and I have to catch myself too, don't simply nod your head and say, okay, because what do they ask? I need to use the restroom. And you're going, okay. They're like, no, I gotta go, and you're just nodding your head. If you don't understand, simply ask again, you know? I'm sorry, I didn't understand you, okay? It's gonna be loud, it's gonna be noisy in there, there's gonna be lots of people around. There's also gonna be some quiet spaces, you know? And I won't pick on one individual, but there's one individual I know, he goes by Jay. Yeah, Nancy knows, they all know. Jay does not have a speech impediment by any means. He loves to talk, but either way. Jay, for example, hey Jay, I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you said. Why don't we come over here to this corner, it's a little quieter, and maybe I can better understand you. So you walk Jay over, and then hopefully you guys can communicate. Some of them will not be able to speak at all, okay? So, but they can still communicate with you and with their caregivers through simple head nodding, you know, smiling, you know, blinking the eyes, you know, that type of thing. So even though there's no verbal communication, there's still the nonverbal communication and the nonverbal cues that we need to try and pick up on. So with that type of communication, you want to try and think of simple yes and no type questions, you know. Hey, would you like to dance? Yes, no. Are you hungry? You know, those type things to help better communicate with them. So, okay, I think I've covered all of the mobility, vision, yeah. So, I don't want to go into a lot of that people first type trainings. I've said that I was told you've already had most of that, but I still wanted to cover some of the more general types of disabilities and things that you might see with our individuals. So, now we get into the actual evening part of things. And we kind of just go right down through our timeline here. We all know when we're getting there. We kind of all know what we're wearing. In terms of, like Nancy mentioned lots of times, your lanyards, okay? When you do get assigned, your buddy, or not your buddy, your honored guest will have a note card or some sort of a card that will have some vital information on it. Please take that and hang on to it. Okay, what I suggest is stick that in your little lanyard name tag card thing too. That way it's right there, you don't have to worry about pockets, you don't have to worry about trying to hang on to it with your hand, put it in your lanyard card there and it's good to go. It'll have your individual's name, it'll have if they're allergic to anything, if they have any sort of medications, okay, if they have any sort of dietary restrictions or things like that, and then just a fun fact or two about them as well. Okay, so hang on to that card. Once then we get checked in and you get your honored guest. Like on the map, there's lots of different activities right in there that you can take them to. You know, say hi, introduce yourself. You know, if they are verbal, ask them. You know, if they've been here before. Just try to strike up a conversation like you would with any other person. You know that you're meeting for the first time. We do have, in terms of limo rides, I will say those are very popular with our guests. Okay, we've gotten smarter over the years. We've got 2 limos now. Now, the one thing with that, if you do have a person that uses a wheelchair or does maybe have some mobility issues, unfortunately, the limos, they're party buses. So they're not a stretch limo. It's a party bus. You know, you got plenty of room to stand up in it. But it does not have a wheelchair lift on it. So ask the person or ask the person's caregiver, family member, whoever they're with, if they can transfer from the chair up to a couple steps on the bus and then sit on the bus for the limo ride. I do not expect you to do any of the lifting. I don't expect you to do any of the transferring, anything like that, okay? But again, that reminder of, hey, you want to sign up for a limo ride, you know, are you able to take a couple steps, get on the limo, and then take a couple steps down once we're finished, all right? If they're okay with all that stuff, you know, then yes, get them signed up right away and make a note of the time, because it's just a quick trip around the outskirts parking lot of Terrace, like a 5-minute ride, 7 minutes, depending on how fast or slow the driver goes.
Do we ride in the limo with our buddy, or?
Sure, yep, yeah. Feel free to ride on the bus too, okay? So if you don't want to, you don't have to, but we tell the drivers that there will be, you know, the buddies will be with them, okay? So yeah, feel free to do that. But definitely like I said, get them signed up first, and then remember that time. It's gonna be February, most likely it's going to be cold, although this winter it's been, you know, off and on. So one of the questions was, do they have to wear a coat? You know, that's personal preference type thing. And here's how I would handle it. If you see, if your individual guest or your honored guest, excuse me, is a female and she's in like a spaghetti strapless type gown, you know, and it's fairly chilly out and the wind's blowing, then yeah, you might suggest they take a coat with them, you know. And if they don't want to, or they're all excited about getting on that limo, they're focused on that limo, you know, you need to try and get them to focus on something else. So they say, hey Jay, I'm getting my coat because it's going to be cold out. I'm cold. Why don't we get your coat too? I'm getting mine. Oh, okay, so we got our coats. You know, then there you go. They've got your coat. You've got the goal of them wearing a coat out to the limo, and there's no arguments over that. So.
And I didn't mention, but there is a coat check
Yes.
tab
Oh, the tag, yeah.
that
Yep.
they'll be.
Correct. So one more thing to put in your lanyard pouch is the coat check tag when you check in your coat and when your guest checks in their coat. Okay, so keep that tag coat check thing with you as well too. Okay. So yeah, in terms of wearing a coat out to the limo, totally personal preference. The limos will be running, they'll be warm. So you know, it's like I said, that's up to them. Other things as we go, as I said, he's walking down that hallway there for their corsagers and boutonnieres. There'll also be a goodie bag, okay? Make sure either they get the goodie bag or you get the goodie bag and you hang on to it for them. It'll be loaded full of things, everything from glow sticks to
Crown.
Crown.
Yeah, the main thing is the crown for them. If they absolutely want to put it on, then again, let them. It's not a make or break type situation, but encourage them to keep it in the bag until later. Because as you saw in the video, there is kind of a special time where Tebow comes on and says, "I crown you king or queen," and then they can put it on and wear it. But if they want to wear it before then, you know, so be it. But try and encourage them to keep it in the bag, and then at the end of the evening, make sure that they've got their bag with everything in it, you know, as they go to leave. Dinner. We already know what we're having for dinner. Again, if the individual requires any sort of blended food or accommodations for eating, their home person, their staff should be there with them for that. So you as a buddy, all I would expect you to do is simply to offer assistance. You know, hey, can I hold this while you go get that? Or can I go get, you know, the drinks while you go, you know, while you do whatever, okay? Now some may want their food chopped up or may need their food, you know, chopped up. Generally, the guideline I go by is think of like a quarter, okay, just a standard 25-cent, you know, quarter. If the food is about that size, then that is easy enough for them to chew and swallow, okay? It's pasta and it's chicken fingers. It's nothing that's gonna require a knife or anything too tough like that, okay? Some may need to just need to be reminded to slow down. You know, for a lot of our individuals, food is a big thing, you know, and for us too, we get hungry and we start shoveling it down as well, you know. So maybe they just need to be reminded to slow down a bit, take their time. Hey, Jay, we're in no rush. We've got lots of time to dance. We have a whole 20 minutes before our limo ride. You know, slow down, you know, take your time and eat. We're not in a big hurry, okay? Some may may use sippy cups, okay, or may need a straw to drink out of. Again, that should be with them, so you may need to fill up the sippy cup, you know, get a straw, something like that. So, in terms of dinner, eat when your guest does, okay? As Nancy mentioned, there will be lots of extra help just kind of mingling around. So let's say you're carrying 2 plates, one for your guests, you know, or not 2 plates. You're carrying a plate for your guest and a cup of juice for your guest, but you want your own plate. Say, hey, Shar, can you come help me and carry my plate because I've got, you know, things for my guests. Oh, sure, no problem. You know, then they'll carry your plate back to the table. So there'll be lots of people around. Just ask for help if you need it.
So if I'm a buddy and I need to go to the restroom and I'm not allowed to leave my honored guests alone, what should I do?
And then you go find somebody on the
Red
core
carpet.
team. There we go. Yeah,
the core
or
team.
security,
Or one of
or
the people?
yeah. I never thought of that one. That's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have to go, they might have to too.
Sure. Very correct. Yeah, very true. Yep. So we don't want any accidents, okay, in terms of the restroom type thing. So as Nancy pointed out, all right, that they may need a reminder, hey, let's, you know, have you used the restroom. You have to use the restroom before we get on the limo. You know, it's going to be cold out there. You know, we don't want you walking out and having to go while you're on the limo. Let's try and go use the restroom. You know, no, I'm good. I don't have to go. Well, you know what? I have to go. So let's go try whatever words you want to use, however you want to phrase it, you know. But we're not looking for any sort of confrontation, argument, things like that. But yes, if you do have to go and your person is on the dance floor or they're eating dinner and you don't want to interrupt them, then flag somebody down and just simply say, hey, you got a few minutes to sit with my person, or, you know, to watch over my person. I need to do whatever, use the restroom, okay?
Christy's one of those people that you can flag down too. She'll be roaming and available for help.
So we've had dinner, we're out dancing, limo rides, the night, the photo booth. Again, lots of photos, feel free to take them. If you have your phone with you, you want to take a selfie with your individual, you know, that's great too. Whatever, you know, more fun the better. The sensory area, that, again, 98% of them are going to want to be in the middle of it. They're going to be having fun. They're going to be singing and dancing and having a good time. But if you sense that they're maybe getting a little overstimulated, or they're getting a little agitated, or they just, you know, in the beginning of the night they were talkative and they were mixing and they were having fun, and now they're a little more withdrawn, maybe they're a little more quiet, you know, or somebody comes up to them and tries to, you know, talk to them, and they're like, nah, get away, you know, or, you know, they accidentally bump into somebody and they just seemed a little agitated. Suggest, you know, hey, it looks like maybe you're getting a little tired, maybe you just need 5 minutes to chill out and relax. You know, I got a perfect place. Go on, follow me. You know, if you kind of make a big deal about it yourself, they may want to go check it out too. And once you get there, you'll understand, you know, where all these spots are. I know we show it on, you know, on a screen, but it's different once you get there. But basically, if you're in the gym, in the main area, and you just go straight out the doors and just keep walking straight, it's a glassed window hallway, and then at the other end will be the quiet sensory area. It'll be a little darker. There'll be some big poofy bean bags in there. There might be a couple of little fidget type toys, okay, you know, things of that nature. Feel free to take them down there, or suggest, you know, that they go down there. And then once they seem like they're all fine and good and ready to go, bring them on back and, you know, keep dancing and having fun. So towards the end of the evening, as it is time to leave, you know, again, please make sure they've got their goodie bag, they've got their crown, you've got your coat check tag to get their coat with them, okay? Some of them may be riding home with family. Some of them may be riding home as part of their group home where they stay. or with an agency person, okay? So just make sure that whoever, you know, says, hey, I'm responsible for so-and-so, okay, hey, I've got so-and-so, I've got Jay, I'm responsible for Jay, I'm taking him home. All right, great, thanks, Jay, you know, hope you had fun, hope to see you again next year. Once you kind of hand that person off, or once you make sure that that person is with another responsible family member, staff member, caregiver, whoever that is, then your role or your term as a buddy is done. Okay, we thank you for your time. Go get changed and then start cleaning up. So, any questions so far for buddies?
Are they pre-assigned? Because I have some families who have requested, like,
Okay, good question. No, nobody is pre-assigned, okay? If you know a family member, or if you know a friend of a family that's coming and they want you to be their buddy, once they come in the door and get checked in and you see them, then flag them down and say, hey, I'm with them. Perfect, here you go, okay? Otherwise, quite honestly, assignments is just kind of a random, who's up next type deal, okay? If you have a preference for male, female, okay, let me know, and I'll make sure to try and honor that preference. Or if you do, again, if you know somebody, or if you see somebody that you know, that you recognize, and you want to spend the evening with them, walk up to the front and say, yeah, I'll go with Jay. Perfect. Take Jay and go. And trust me, once you meet Jay, you will understand why he's a good guy to use as an example. So.